Hey you guys, it's Therese and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my January wrap-up. And I know what you're thinking, Therese. It's February 1, early in the month, and you're doing your wrap-up? Ooh, it's going to be good. Well, me keeping up with this whole thing, I don't know about the books I've read. Actually, all the books I've read this month are pretty good. But I'm just going to get going before I keep rambling. So the first book I read this month is Rise of the Isle of the Lost by Melissa de la Cruz. Now this is the third book, and I don't know if it will be the final book to the Descendants series, and this takes place before the second movie. So we have kind of like Uma and all the gang here, and I can't give you too much into it other than the fact that we see more of the villain kids and the kids from the Isle. So I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I loved the previous books. I thought they were pretty great. Pretty like lighthearted almost, and still kind of keeping to a rather darkish undertone given how the children are treated. But I felt like, and I also loved how it filled in more gaps between the movies and the books itself and gave us more character development than what we see on the screen. However, I feel, much like the rest of the books, there was too much of kiddish language in the books that kind of threw me for a loop while I was reading, and I didn't really enjoy it. Like, I understand it's a middle grade novel, so it makes sense they won't be using big words and they're going to be trying to dumb it down a little bit, but I feel like in this case it got dumbed down a lot. And it got dumbed down a lot, and I feel like for any middle grade novel who is trying to read this, it kind of talked down to them with how the characters would speak. Like, the descriptions were well, the inner thoughts and everything were well. It was just the dialogue. Like, I would get taken out of the reading, and it was just kind of like I'd be mowing along and enjoying it and being like, ooh, what's going to happen next? And then a character would open their mouth and say something, and it was just like, well, that ruined it. And it would take me a while to get back into it. The next book in my wrap-up is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, this is already a movie, so I'm behind on this, and now I can actually watch the movie. But this one follows a girl named Rachel, and she takes the same train every single day, despite having lost her job. And it's like she's in a bad depression, and one day she ends up getting really drunk. And then when she wakes up the next day, a girl in the neighborhood that she had visited while drunk has gone missing. So this is kind of her trying to piece together what happened that night and whether or not she was responsible. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I adored it. Paula Hawkins's writing is beautiful and gorgeous, and it kept me wanting more and not being able to put it down and just wanting to figure out who had done it. However, my grievance with this is that you kept wanting, you kept guessing and second guessing yourself, but then the big reveal wasn't that big because Rachel kind of puts it together, but was too afraid to really admit to it in around the middle of the book. But I mean, it is also her first novel, so hopefully the rest of the novels are pretty good, but we'll see. The next book in this series is another one that I should have picked up a long time ago, but I'm here now, so we're not going to talk about it, and that is The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. Now, for those of you who don't know, this takes place in Nazi Germany, where this little girl named Liesel is a well-known book thief. Shocker, considering by the name. I absolutely loved this book. I loved the writing. It was so heart-wrenching. Like, sometimes it had its slow moments, but the slow moments led up to these big moments, and it was just so great. And I was sobbing by the end of the book. Like, I was staring at my pages with tears in my eyes, and I just couldn't get over it, how beautifully it was written. And I think it's just one of those books that I think you would have to read, because it just puts into perspective kind of how damaged everything was because of this war and because of these ideals, and how it tore everything apart for these people and who didn't want any part of this, who didn't have a choice in the matter, and all that stuff. Let's hope the rest of the thing was in focus, because my camera decided to be a butt. So if the angle is different, I apologize. My camera was being a butt. The next book on this list is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I'll also be linking my review in the cards below. In the cards in this video, I thought this was definitely like a must-read. I'm not going to give too much into it because I do have a review on it, so we'll leave that there. But I just loved it so much. I think that it did really well in highlighting what was kind of going on and how this affected everyone personally, and it wasn't something that we just kind of watched from afar in that kind of perspective. So I enjoyed it. I would recommend this to everyone who wants to read it, even if it's like, it doesn't sound like something you're gonna like, it's still an important read in my eyes. Also, this book is about Star, who kind of lives this weird, awkward double life by going to a very fancy school while also living in a kind of rough neighborhood. And after a party, she watches her best friend get shot by the cops while he is unarmed. The last book on this list is Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. Now, for those of you who don't know, Scarlet is the second book to the Lunar Chronicles, and I can't give too much away, but the first book is about Cinder, who is a cyborg and the well-known mechanic in the Commonwealth, which is kind of Asia in a sense. Asia? Yeah, pretty sure it's Asia. And there's a lot of like weird lunar people from the moon that can mess with your head, and there's a handsome prince, and it's all retold around Cinderella, while Scarlet is retold around Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know why that took me so long, but whatever. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I think this is one of, when I continue on with the series, this will be one of my least favorite ones. Not because I didn't like the story, but I feel like it had a bit, the romance wasn't my favorite, just because we got Kai and Cinder in the first one, and in this one we got Scarlet and Wolf, and that seemed more of like an in-your-face, almost happen instantly kind of thing, as well as some of the point of view character switches, which I wasn't a fan of because I feel like it kind of happened a little too abruptly, or we just didn't need, like, I couldn't tell the point of some of the character switches, like the POV switching, or even showing us a new character's perspective. It just didn't work for me, so there's that. But that is it for my January wrap-up. What books did you guys read this January, and what books are you looking forward to in February? Other than that, hit like, comment of your thoughts, subscribe. I try to upload new videos every Saturday and Tuesday, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!